Hey, welcome to another edition of Hoop Academy Project. I'm your host, Derek Limas, and sitting right in here with me today is three generations of musicians. To my right is Dr. Arthur Dawkins, Professor Emeritus at Howard University, Washington, D.C. To his right is Dennis Brown, who's the Music Department Chair and the Director of Bands and Orchestras at C.D. Hilton High School. And to his right is Vaughn Ambrose, who's the Music Department Chair and Director of Bands at Francis C. Hammond Middle School right here in Alexandria, Virginia. Gentlemen, thank you for taking the time to sit in here and talk with me on the Hoop Academy Project. So, three generations of musicians. Dennis, you actually were taught by Dr. Dawkins, am I correct?
Correct.
And
Correct.
you know, tell us about you. You know, you went to Parker Gray. You know, talk a little bit about Parker Gray and being taught by Dr. Dawkins.
Well, after having heard the kind of the Arthur Dawkins story on a prior taping, I was fortunate enough to have had Arthur Dawkins as a teacher back in the early days of segregation in Alexandria, Virginia. There was a period of time in Alexandria that if you were a young African American studying instrumental music, I would say between 1959 to about 1965, you had two men were responsible, and it was Arthur Dawkins and Catellia Payne.
So, how did you get into music? I mean, what actually was your reason for wanting to take up music?
Well, I got inspired, you know, being in elementary school. They would do the demonstration for band instruments, and it just sparked my interest of something that I wanted to do. And it was a kind of an interesting story, because the first teacher was someone else. It wasn't Mr. Payne, but it was someone else who kind of got me started, but I wouldn't say it was a great start. Then about a year later, I got called down to the basement of Charles Houston Elementary School, which was the old Parker Gray High School, and it was a gentleman, Cordelou Payne. And he said, well, I heard you were in the band, and I'd like for you to come back and join the band. He played his clarinet, and I got inspired again. And so I started out in the Charles Houston Lyles Crouch Elementary Band. Both of the black elementary schools were combined into one band, which was called the All City Band, was one of our names. And then when you would take summer band for the black, you know, for the black students, we had the privilege of having Mr. Payne and Mr. Dawkins, and that's when my first experience with Mr. Dawkins. And of course, being in the Charles Houston Lyles Crouch Elementary School Band, Mr. Dawkins would pay us frequent visits to see how we were doing, and our whole goal was to get to his band at Parker Gray High School. So I got my start in the Charles Houston Lyles Crouch Elementary School Band program.
But you had told me previously when we talked that Mr. Dawkins or Dr. Dawkins actually was a great influence in your musical life.
Oh yeah, he was a great influence all the way around. You know, for one thing, he was a superb musician. You know, I mean, he was a superb teacher, superb musician, excellent role model. You know, you need a role model in your life, and for me, it meant extra because I had this spark after watching him. This is kind of like something I think I would like to do with my life. So he was a great inspiration for a lot of us in Alexandria during that period of time. And as I got into the profession, one thing that I'll always remember is that looking back, I remembered how great the training was that we got from him, and Mr. Payne as well.
So Dr. Dawkins, you talked about, you told me in previous conversations how Mr. Patterson was your influence,
right?
And how you heard music in the building, or that's how you started or wanted to get started into music.
Mm-hmm. Well, let me say this about Dennis's early experiences. That, and it still rings in my ear, that's the best elementary band I've ever heard in my life. That's a lot to say. And I'm not saying it because I was so close to these guys and I knew they were going to come to me as high school students. But I've never heard an elementary school band sound as good, and I'm sure that there are no recordings of that.
I wish you were, because
I bet you remember it.
Oh, I remember it plain as day. And you know, and Mr. Payne may rest in peace and God bless his soul. I wrote in there, one of the best bands I ever played in was that Charles Houston Lyles Couch Elementary School band. And you can identify with this. You know, we tore up the Claxon March, and I was in the 6th grade, didn't know what I was doing. I thought everybody was doing it. But you know, we tore up the Claxon March in the 6th grade. I was 6th grade, so we had great training.
It was great. And they put a lot of pressure on the high school band that I had. Great pressure. Great pressure. And you know, if you got your kids say, well, you see what we're getting or what we have around us. An elementary school band, superb elementary school band. And you think about things that we probably wouldn't have talked about it back in those days. One issue we had about integration was we were going to lose this. We were going to lose control of this, in which we did. We had, as in a segregated situation, the blacks took care of blacks and the others took care of the others. But we had told Mr. Payne and I that there were only 2 instrumental teachers there, and the supervisor let us alone to do whatever we wanted to do. And of course, we were really good music, but we knew that once we were integrated, we wouldn't have this, and we were always praying that integration would never come.
Well, I agree, here, and that was a sad day for me and a lot of us, because when we had to cross the threshold at the end of formal segregation, it wasn't the same. And an unfortunate thing, only a few of us diehards continued to play. And that was sad to see a lot of talented black musicians just put it in the case and say, that's it for me. It's not
no
gonna
more
be the same.
inspiration to
There's
play
no more
more.
inspiration.
Yeah.
And it was easy to quit. I was close, but I don't know why I stuck, but I just stuck. But I was close because you were getting remarks like what we did didn't have much value to it. Our marching style, you know, for one thing, you leave a Parker Gray marching band, which was outstanding marching band, and then you cross over, and when they spoke of what you did, we're not doing any of this nonsense. That really hurt, because it meant a lot to us, and we knew how proficient we were. You know, we knew how proficient. We knew it was good, but yet to be told it was, you know, to be hinted that it was lacking, it turned a lot of us off, and a lot of people just said, "That's it. I'm not coming back to this." So. It was a sad day for me not to finish my career in high school under Arthur Dawkins at Parker Gray.
And Vaughn, you had one of your instructors or professors your mentor at East Carolina, also Dr. Dawkins. You taught him, and his name?
Carol DeShiel.
Carol DeShiel. And what were some of the things that he brought to you?
Wow. Well, I'm guessing he got a lot of hard lessons from Dr. Dawkins. He was really real with us. You know, sitting here on this panel, hearing these gentlemen talk about that transition and that transition taking place and everything changing, they had to do, from what I'm guessing now, 150 to 200% better just to be considered equal. That was the biggest lesson that I got. Because I went to a school that was, you know, it was just a regular university, 500 to 550 students in the School of Music, and there's only 4 African Americans. That was it. So Mr. DeShiel, or Mr. D as we call him, or D, called us in, and we all had talent, but we never got in there. They let us squeak in there. So we got in there, he called us in, he said, you know, this is reality. You got to do 150 to 200% better than everyone else. And just hearing these gentlemen talk, that's where that lesson came from. You know, I was sitting here and I was like, wow, Dr. Dawkins taught me indirectly. But now as I sit here, he didn't teach me indirectly. He taught me directly. Because I'm sure D had some serious lessons on this fine young man, or fine gentleman here. Can still say young, I guess. I learned a lot. What I had to do to make it. And it wasn't just about being proficient as an instrumentalist. There's a whole lot of other stuff that you have to be able to deal with to truly make it. Because everybody's not fair, unfortunately. And you know, it saddens me to hear the story here. I mean, I'm wishing there was a tape so I could hear it. Not only so that I can hear it, but the students that I teach every day. Because I teach in a very diverse situation. And unfortunately, when we turn on the television and we see groups performing, the group looks different than us. It would be great to have a picture or a recording to put on so these kids see that it is truly possible for them to achieve. And greatness, there's greatness in here. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So Dr. Dawkins, as an educator, music teacher at Parker Gray, what were some of the things that you were trying to accomplish with your students and with the program?
Mm-hmm. Well, one other thing I think maybe I should clarify before I forget it was that the fact that we went through this cultural change, the integration as a major cultural shock, that was the reality change. And no matter how much me and some of my colleagues wanted to hang on to what we had done up until that point in the middle 60s, they had to move on because the world was going that way, and there was nothing we could do, and it was quite selfish of us to even think about holding on to it, because that's not what the world. So consequently, what Dennis was a part of was sort of a false reality, a false sense of security, because what he met after Parker Gray, that next year when he went to the other school, was the reality. That wasn't, there was nothing fake about that. It was sort of insecure, it was something that was not the real thing that we provided for you. It was too close, it was too family, it was too much out of the sense of what was really to come in the real world. And obviously both of you guys survived that. And although we still have a tinge of that family thing going, and the reason why I went to college was some teachers made me aware and gave me the inspiration to go on from one level to the other. And I felt like I was getting personal attention. But again, that's not the real world. The real world is what Dennis had to deal with and make it on his own, and what Vaughn had to deal with. And that's the real world. And it's cruel. That world is cruel. It's not natural to get all of that nurturing that you got from these teachers that you, unfortunately, because you're gonna have to make it without that. You're going to make it under battle conditions, as opposed to a parental or nurturing kind of situation. So I often think how fortunate I was to spend my entire teaching career in like a family situation. All black people, all black students, but that's not natural. That's not the world. Fortunately, I had another outlet or another situation that I had to deal with that was not all black. That was actually blacks were in the minority. Once I got into the more I got into the performing area, so I had a kind of a mixed bag. But and that is not about brothers and sisters. The real world is not about brothers and sisters. It's about who's going to be the strongest and who's going to make it.
So that leads also to my question with your students, or with the students that you had, or with Vaughn's mentor. What were you trying to accomplish? What were you trying to instill in them? I mean, if it was the false sense of security that they were experiencing, what were you trying to instill in? And as you moved on and learned how things were in the world, or how competitive it was, what were some of the things you were trying to instill in them?
I'm not sure, but I feel pretty good about some of it when I see these guys.
Oh, you should feel very good about it. Yeah.
I'm not sure what I was trying to instill in them, but I did want to make them know how important it was to excel and to be as businesslike as possible, and to not assume that everybody's your friend and that you will get, like a family pat on the back and, move on. And to make it in this society, in this culture, you make it on your own. You don't make it on your father or your brother or your sister or your teacher. And that's what they've done. So I can point to some people who've done very well. And that's what I tried to instill. And it goes through his teacher, Carl, and he's done very, very well in a hostile environment.
A hostile
environment. I'm comparing Howard to East Carolina, those two schools.
So when you hear recordings of some of your former students and you're listening or you see them perform, what goes through your mind?
Well, I'm very proud of them, and I would say the vast majority of them, I could just see the progress from infancy to professionalism. So I feel very good about it.
Now, I know that you two are in a minority as far as band directors in the area.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about that.
Vaughn?
Dennis, you can start. We'll start with you, Dennis.
In what way? It's one of those things where you wonder why. Here we are, and you keep asking the questions. As many meetings, and I've had the opportunity to go all around the state as a guest conductor, as a clinician, and be on various meetings, various panels. And everywhere I go, I might be the only or one of two African American directors in the room. For example, the county that I work for, I've been there 20 years, and no other African American has been hired to teach instrumental music. So the question that always comes in my mind is, why isn't that opportunity still not there for a lot of us? So it is difficult, and like Dr. Dawkins says, it's reality. So I constantly ask the question, why? That the door hasn't opened for a lot more African Americans, but I'm sure a lot of other people could say the same thing in a lot of other fields. But it is difficult.
Yeah. Vaughn?
It's tough. I probably, I was the first African American director hired at T.C. Williams. 2004.
Wow.
First. And at that time, I knew of four directors in the state that I knew of. Mr. Brown, the gentleman at Washington Lee, Mr. Walker at Franklin, and at the time Brian Thomas, who is now the director of bands at T.C. Williams, was at Fairfax. That's all I knew. I went to interviews where I was told in the interview I wasn't qualified to teach elementary music. I had a master's in music. And I always ask the question. I've gone to meetings. I started off younger, or young compared to everyone else, and they would ask questions, and I raise my hand to answer a question until, interject, they look right over me.
You have to deal with a lot of that. I've dealt with a lot of that.
That's every day.
And that goes back to the real world.
Yeah, and that was a hard world. That was a tough world. And I credit the foundation that I got, and I'm happy for that foundation that I got in Alexandria with Dr. Dawkins and Mr. Payne, because it kept that line in me to say, well, I know I can do this.
That's the point.
I know I can do it. I just have to get the opportunity, but getting the opportunity can beat you down if you don't have some driving force to say, well, I know I can do this. I remember sitting in an interview. I had 8 years of teaching experience. It was at the elementary and middle school level, both band and orchestra. And this supervisor of music looked at me and said, I can't send you to any high school. I said, why not? They won't take me seriously. And I had 8 years experience, but yet a guy could come right out of college and be considered and get hired. And I said that to him. I said, well, I don't understand. Because I'd been in the business and I knew people out there. And I said, well, you just hired so he came right out of college, and you put, well, I'm just telling you the truth. I can't send you to any high school principals in this particular county. They're not gonna. So you go through a lot of that. And when I got out of college, 72, 73, is the market for hiring teachers is not as friendly as it is now. So it was, you had to just knock, and you see other guys getting hired, but it wasn't there for me. So I ended up taking, my first job was a job probably that nobody would take. Matter of fact, when I said I accepted it, the guy who offered it to me, he had to do a double take. He said, oh, you'll take it? I went, yeah, I need to work. I said, my family, we work. You have to work. He said, well, okay. And it was actually teaching at 6 elementary schools, band and orchestra. I ended up doing more driving during the week than teaching. But I said I was determined, and once I got in, I just worked hard, and my talent and the foundation that I had kind of, took care of itself. But I had to knock on a lot of doors, so it's tough. That real world was tough.
So speaking of talent, we're honoring during Black History Month on February 8th, we're honoring Mr. Patterson, Mr. E.L. Patterson, and Dr. Dawkins at T.C. Williams High School with the Howard University Jazz Ensemble and Afro Blue. Tell me your thoughts on that event, Dr. Dawkins.
Well, I'm not sure if I deserve it, but I look forward to it, and it should be a great concert with those 2 groups that you just mentioned, the Jazz Ensemble and Howard University Jazz Ensemble and Afro Blue are really making big strides nationally or internationally, and don't get but a few opportunities to play locally. They don't perform locally that much. They are busy doing things outside of the area. So this will be one of the few times that we'll get to enjoy them outside of the university setting and in the local setting here. So I'm looking forward to it.
And how do you feel? What goes through your heart as you being a part of the event?
Well, I definitely think Dr. Dawkins deserved it, because there are a lot of us from my era. I can name countless names. Robert Miles, Teddy Lewis, Lawrence Dean, countless of us who grew up in Alexandria. And we know what Dr. Dawkins meant to us and what he did for us. Not only just in music, just to see a black man, college educated, like you said, other than teachers, unless you had family members who had went to college, which very few of us, we didn't have.
Right.
You had to do it through your teachers. So here was a black man who was highly intelligent, very articulate, carried himself well, and he was involved in music. And he gave us an inspiration in all ways, probably more ways than he thought. And he made us learn. That was the difference. I mean, it wasn't like we were there for nonsense. We really learned. And so there are a lot of us that he helped, and he's well-deserved. His humility is just exemplary of his character, but he's definitely deserving of all the honors and accolades he can be given.
And Vaughn, we only have a couple minutes left. What's your thoughts on the February 8th event?
Long time coming. This man deserves to be honored. This man beside me deserves to be honored. Honestly, I would not be where I am today without the struggle that they went through. They opened the door. The door was closed. It may have been a crack for Mr. Brown to get through, and it was a little bigger crack for me to get through. Abraham, Father Abraham, we're all hip to that story. Sitting at the end. And we're talking about some of the most accomplished educators and musicians of our time, all studied under this man at the end, the Dr. Dawkins. I mean, in the jazz world, you start talking Greg Osby and Wallace Roney, Jerry Allen. These are living legends now. That's their teacher there at the end. That's amazing. Carol DeShill is quite accomplished. He does what he does because of Dr. Dawkins. Family, I went through a total family environment. That's how the program was structured at East Carolina. And hearing these gentlemen talking, everything makes sense. But it was tough. The last lesson that I got before I walked out of there, Mr. DeShill called me and he said, you're about to go out there. The last thing you got to remember is never wear your feelings on your sleeves. He said, always remember that. Here in the city, Alexandria's made great strides. I interviewed in '99 for the position at Hammond Middle School, and without a doubt, no problems, hired me. So it's time. The community's ready for it, and a gentleman who's well-deserved. So I'm definitely looking forward to it.
Well, what we have here is 3 generations right here before us. And don't forget, February 8th at 5 p.m. at T.C. Williams High School in the auditorium. Black History Month. Also to honor E.L. Patterson, Mr. E.L. Patterson and Dr. Arthur Dawkins. We're going to have our University Jazz Ensemble and Afro Blue. I mean, if you miss it, you will miss an event to be reckoned with. So once again, I'd like to thank you for watching another edition of Hoop Academy Project. I'm Derek Limas. Thank you, Dr. Dawkins, Dennis Brown, and Vaughn Ambrose. And, keep watching, and we definitely hope to see you at the event, February 8th. Take care. God bless.
I've got to keep on pushing. I can't stop now. Move up a little higher, higher, oh yeah. Some way, somehow.